Welcome to the MangaReloaded podcast with Matt and Blake. Here are your hosts, and today we're going to talk about
Naruto.
and when it whoosh, jumped the shark.
Da-da-da. And of course, my opening thoughts on this, and I believe everyone's thoughts in general, are that it jumped the shark right after Naruto kissed Sasuke.
Yeah, I mean that is a fair argument because before that there wasn't a Sasuke really, and then after that moment, Sasuke kind of became a major focus. And not a lot of people like Sasuke. I mean, not a lot of people like Naruto either, but you got both of them in the same series, and I just don't think it ever recovered after that.
It just turns to garbage from that point on. But really, though. So, yeah, it could be argued that all major long-running series especially have a moment in time where they jump the shark. Matt, would you like to explain your textbook definition of what jumping the shark implies?
Yeah. I mean, jumping the shark comes from, I think it's TV tropes for like that Happy Days episode where a character literally jumped a shark and then they just said the show never got good after that. I didn't actually watch Happy Days, so I don't know.
Yeah, the Fonz took a motorcycle and drove over a shark tank.
Okay, that's what happened. And so was that the last good episode, or was it that episode so bad that the show could never recover because of that episode?
I also have not watched the episode. I think it's just that from that point on, it was never good again. Like, it was a bad episode, but it really felt like from that point on, it never went back up. It just went down.
Okay. For me, jumping the shark simply means the series has hit a point where it is impossible for it to reach its former glory. Doesn't mean it can't be good again, right?
Right. But
it's go ahead, like.
Well, but at that point in the series, it's basically it's hit its best and it's never going to approach that again.
Right. And I think it's not particularly an unpopular opinion that Naruto at some point ceased to be as good as it used to be. Most people have kind of come to that. They've reached that point at one point or another. Some say the pain arc is the best arc, and then the war arc is where it tips off. Others make the argument that the Land of Waves arc was at the best, and that it only went downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually my personal opinion that the combination of the Land of Waves arc and the Chunin exams is the series' highest point, but the series didn't jump the shark until I'd say a significant portion of time after that.
Right.
Where it made some decisions that kind of made it unsalvageable.
Right. I just want to say, well, did you have a particular one you wanted to start with? Because I have a really interesting one to start with, but I feel like it's as troll-tastic as the one that I opened with. So,
okay. Well, I mean, I could go in I could go through my thought process in chronological order as the series developed, because that's kind of how I see it in my mind, as this slow burn.
Yeah. Okay, here, let me ask you this. Is there any point pre-Shippuden where you think it jumped the shark?
I don't think it jumped the shark completely until the post time skip. So okay. Yeah, I guess you could call it Shippuden era. However, I do think it was getting the motor running, lining up with the ramp, and turning the torque somewhere pre-time skip.
Okay. Where would you say that was? I'm actually kind of curious to know.
I would say that the seeds of the problem are within the Tanzuka Town arc, which is the arc where they go after Tsunade.
Okay. Interesting.
I guess it depends on how far Kishimoto may or may not have planned, because everything that's there works. It's what it's foreshadowing to that creates the problem. I don't know if I'm being too vague. I definitely am being
You're
too
being
vague.
incredibly vague because I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, it's my contention that the seeds for the issues that would come were planted in the Tansuka Town arc, but that there's foreshadowing in the Tansuka Town arc towards things that happen and are introduced to concepts introduced in the post time skip that I believe are responsible for Naruto's noticeable drop in quality.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, when they're reading, they'll notice, at least for me personally, I noticed my personal enjoyment dropped immediately when the time skip happened.
Right. I can agree
And I
with that.
don't believe that that was nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of other stories I've read with time skips, and it's not that I watched the original on Cartoon Network and then didn't catch Shippuden on Disney XD because we didn't have it. I mean, that is what happened.
It wasn't good on Disney XD. I can vouch for that. It was really bad and really choppy. Like even as far as Naruto and Shippuden goes, it was very choppy because they cut out. Well, it was on Disney. It was on the Disney Kids channel. So
Yeah.
anything with a remote level of innuendo or offensiveness was just entirely chopped.
Right.
And a lot of violence was chopped too, which is tricky when you have an action series, but whatever.
Yep. So I think when the time skip happened, the way fans approached it and the way Kishimoto approached it were diametrically opposed, in that Kishimoto had felt that his side cast had already been firmly established and developed in the Chunin exams, so he could move on to this other core story, while others felt like it was necessary to reintroduce them, redevelop them, or maybe not redevelop them, but develop them further, do more with them, so there's a sense of contrast between where they were at the beginning and where they are at the end.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, so Naruto built itself on having a popular secondary cast, and then that cast gets neglected in the other 2/3 of the story that make up the majority of it. That would be the primary problem. However, I think the secondary problem is that the core plot itself, I don't want to say isn't good, but isn't great.
Right.
And for me, I've noticed that the first thing I didn't really like was the introduction of the concept of all these Jinchuriki.
Okay.
Like the idea that the demon fox and the sand raccoon that Gaara has.
And the giant octopus.
Well, we didn't know about him yet.
Ah, oh, dang, spoilers. I'm sorry.
Spoiler, not spoilers. This is nothing but spoilers.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it was mentioned, it was firmly established, though, that there were 9 other Jinchuriki, right? Or was it not?
They don't mention the idea that there's 9 others till the Rescue Gaara arc, because Lady Chiyo reveals that.
Okay, that sounds right.
Before that, they were just these things that Naruto and Gaara had. And my problem with it was that there's literally 9 of them, and you need to collect all 9 of them by killing the main characters, or not the main characters, but killing the Naruto and all the other hosts that would be developed. So immediately, like, all potential for the other tailed beasts is gone. But I also just think the whole idea of there's 1 through 9, and the amount of tails they have is relative to their power. So, of course, Naruto has the most powerful one. Other than the Geto Mazo 10 tails.
Yeah, we don't talk
statue.
That's filler. Oh, never mind. Sorry. I was thinking of No Tails. That was a filler.
No. Ghetto Mazo, the Ten
Yeah,
Tails.
I know what you're saying now. Gotcha.
Um, I just don't like that plot. Um, I don't even know where to fucking begin. One, it just means that you can't have any other characters like Naruto and Gaara because they're gonna have to get killed off.
Yeah.
You know, I do like the idea of them being kind of the equivalent of nuclear weapons
Hmm.
between the villages in that they had to parse them out equally so as to not upset power balance between these rising governments
Yeah.
or military strongholds or whatever. But it meant the entire plot had to center around that.
Yep.
And it also meant the Akatsuki were all about that.
Yep.
And that's where that the Akatsuki show up during the Ponzuka Town arc when they, Itachi and Kisame.
Mm.
And they're there to collect Naruto, but we don't know why at that point. And that's why Sasuke starts getting further jealous because his brother's paying attention to Naruto
Man,
because he's so powerful.
Senpai noticed me.
Yeah.
You killed our family. Notice
Right.
me. I'm all you have.
Right. I mean, that moment's great for driving a wedge even further between Sasuke and Naruto.
Yeah.
And it's great because in that moment it's just Naruto is a powerful potential weapon for them to use for whatever ends they might have. But now that we know that's literally all that they were after. That was all the Akatsuki was about, really. Was gathering these things, killing them, and resurrecting the Ghetto Mazo.
Mm-hmm.
It put Naruto on a trajectory to no longer have interesting arcs to me because every arc had to be about Sasuke or killing
Jinchuriki.
Akatsuki.
Oh yeah.
Who and the plot never develops the other nations
No.
or never explores the world further.
Well, I don't know if I recall this correctly, but I feel like, especially in the manga, which I believe is the majority of what we're talking about, we don't even get to meet all of the other Jinchuriki, do we? I mean, I know we meet a handful of them. Some of them are like as they're dying, but
You get one of them in a filler arc in the anime, but you don't get them in the manga.
Yeah,
I believe
we get
they centered an entire arc around the turtles, the three tails or four tails. I think he's
one or the other. I know.
I can't remember. I think he's three. I think the three tails, the turtles, three tails, and they tell a story about how his that Jinchuriki basically forcefully ripped it out of himself in because of stress or something.
Yeah.
It was actually a pretty good story. I wish I remembered it better. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If only it weren't. I mean, it's not filler because they kind of say that's what happened, but in the manga, all you get is some Akatsuki, I think, Datara and Toby. Just go and get it.
Yeah.
But they actually make an entire arc around that swamp in the manga or in the anime.
I know in the manga, I'm almost 100% sure we get Ni, who is the one with the five-tailed cat, because Hidan and Kukaku hunt her down, right?
Yeah, we see them killing them, but we never get to know them as characters.
Oh yeah, no, none of them. Well, the majority of them.
Except for, Eight Tails.
Yeah, except for him. Fool you, fool.
Yeah.
And wasn't I might be getting mixed up. Was one of them was the former Mizukage? Was he a Jinchuriki?
I think he'd have been the one with the bubbles.
No, he was.
That's in the filler. I don't know.
He wasn't a Jinchuriki. I thought that the former, the Kage of the village hidden in the mist, before the one that we got with the double Kekigenkai, before her, because he was the one who established the tournament where you had every 10-year-old fight each other to the death, and that's where Zabuza became a big deal. I thought he was a Jinchuriki too, but I guess that's not really important.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. So Jinchuriki become the focus of the series.
Yeah, it means that Kishimoto couldn't. He created a core plot, and he couldn't diverge from that when it was going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
One and two, it also meant that, well, it also just led to us not exploring the world, like I said.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, everything from that, like you said, for sure, everything from that point then hooks back around to it. Even things that you wouldn't think are related still end up hooking back to being related to the Jinchuriki.
Yeah. Um, and the moment I felt it though was not like immediately after the time skip, because I was still kind of hopeful that this could work, this could be
Mm-hmm.
good, even though I sensed like I remember reading it in like, I don't know, I think I was a freshman or sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive yet. I know that, but I was in high school, so I think I was a freshman when I read this. And I remember reading it and thinking, oh, for the very first volume of Naruto. But I was still hopeful until the Hidan Kakazu arc.
See, okay, I'm gonna cut you off just because the first one that I have comes before that, and I
Yeah, that arc's definitely bad. In fact,
but
it's definitely the worst arc in Naruto.
the point that I actually read this one and I had to think about it for a second, but then I'm like, yeah, that was pretty bad, but it's also really cheeky. Is that Naruto jumped the shark during the clone fight with Team Guy? If you even recall that.
Is that's the Gara rescue arc? Is that
Yes, during the Gara rescue arc when they're just about to open the cave and rescue him, they
yeah?
all of Team Guy has to split up and like pick up 4 different seals, and then it's like, oh, but when you open the seal, you have to fight a clone of yourself, and it was just awful filler fighting, even though it was canon. And I know, in this sense, I know that's just kind of a cheeky way of saying everything from the really encountering the Akatsuki on is garbage, but I feel like that fight was just so ridiculous and unnecessary. Like, I mean, even I actually went back and rewatched the anime version of it, and it's just so terrible, especially because that is literally the taijutsu team. So everyone is just hand-to-hand combating each other, and it's just so bad.
You know what? I got to give you credit because now I feel bad because you're actually doing the jumping the shark thing, right? Where you're actually picking a moment exactly. I'm just thinking like arcs in general.
Okay, I mean that's well. See,
But
that's
no, you're. But that's a pretty good one. I gotta give you that.
well. I mean that's the like I said. I have like 4 of them, and that's mine are actually specific points. But that I think that works well with how you're doing it, because then when you get to because like with that one you jumped over it, so I had to input mine in there. But I think it works well. I think the way that you're approaching it complements the way that I'm approaching it well.
All right.
So
So
yeah.
the Hidan Kakazu arc was the one that made me contemplate quitting Naruto.
So
And then thankfully, the Pain arc does kind of salvage it. The Pain arc is pretty good for what it is.
mhm.
You know, it's as good as a Shippuden arc can be. The only arcs I really like in the times post time skip would be the Itachi Pursuit arc and the Pain arc. Those are the best ones to me. And then the War arc is kind of somewhere in the middle. I think Naruto like valleys right at the right at the middle, right?
Mhm.
Which would be the Gara rescue arc, the Tanzuka town, not Tanzuka town, the Tenchi Bridge,
Mhm.
which is where Sai and Yamato are introduced,
Yeah, they're fun characters.
and then the Hidan Kakazu arc.
That
Those
that's
make up the deepest valley where Naruto's at its shittiest to
the
me.
Tenshi Bridge is correct me if I'm is that where you have the Orochimaru versus Naruto fight? Or is that
Yes.
late? Okay. I was just making sure I had it right in my head.
Yeah.
Where that fight just in itself is pure cheese.
So if you were to ask me where exactly did Naruto jump the shark, I'd say it hit its lowest point at the Tenchi Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt it heaviest during the Hidan Kakazu arc.
Okay.
And I guess I'll leave it to you to further the discussion.
Okay. So, I know the major, and this was the first thing that I thought of when it came to specific point, and I feel like a lot of people are going to agree with this. The assuming that you are okay with assuming that it does not cut off right before the Akatsuki become the main focus. I think the universally agreed on singular point is the Samsara of life, where Pain hits the reset button on his entire arc.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel because up to that point, I believe we'd only had one character who had died and come back to life. That was Gaara. And when we brought him back to life, it was almost one of those equivalent exchange type of things because Chio gave up her own life so he could have his life back. So it was like one of those, it's like, oh no, we can resurrect people, but it was one of those, but it's an equivalent exchange kind of thing. So you kind of give it the pass, or as much of a pass as you can give it. But then you get to the end of the Pain arc. And that was the thing. I really did love the Pain arc because it felt like Kishimoto was getting so ballsy with his characters. Because you had so many fan favorite characters die. You had Kakashi die. You have Hinata die. Just all these characters that are probably.
It looks like Choji's gonna go there for a bit, or even what's his name? Konohamaru looks like he might.
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna happen. It's actually tense.
Yeah. It really feels like, oh my god, this is the arc that's. It's going to be the high point of the series because it's going to be such a change. It's literally craps all over the popularity polls. It was amazing. And then even letting the talk no jutsu go between Naruto and Pain. But it's the fact that he literally just brings every good guy back. It's not even like all of the bad guys stay dead. No, he brings back all of the good guys and says, I'm sorry. And it's one of those moments because and again, the other crappy part of that is the way it's presented. It doesn't even feel like he has to give up his life to do it. I mean, I know he ends up dying, but it's just like, no, it just takes so much power out of him to do it that he ends up dying from exhaustion, essentially. But it's like, there goes the equivalent exchange. It's like, no, this guy can literally kill off everyone and then change his mind and bring him back. And it's like, way to really crap all over that entire arc. And I feel like many people, or most people will agree, that is the specific point where characters feel a lot safer, if nothing else. It doesn't, life and death doesn't feel like as big of a deal in the series anymore, because it's like, oh well, now you have characters who can just bring people back to life. And again, I feel like it even escalates from there once Naruto starts unlocking more of his powers and Sasuke gets stronger. It just gets silly. But I feel like that was the big point where it's like it all went downhill from there.
It's interesting. I don't think I've talked to you about this, or at least not lately.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the way that arc kind of begins? I mean, not Jiraiya fighting Pain. I know that was great. I mean, I don't know if you thought that was great. I felt that was great.
I liked it.
But
I at least liked that he didn't. It's funny that you mentioned that because that's great too, because that was also really ballsy, and that's what made me think that the Pain arc was just going to keep that momentum. But I mean, I'm at least glad that Jiraiya didn't come back, though it then becomes cheese later with the whole Kabuto thing, because it's like, oh yeah, Jiraiya didn't get brought back. Well, why?
Because he's at the bottom of the ocean.
Huh? Yeah, he's at the bottom of the ocean. Why does that stop you?
Because the ocean's scary, Blake. Okay, you ever watch Shark Week? Nobody wants to go down there. You're not meant to. You don't belong in the ocean.
It was just the weakest little defense, just so he could keep the one ballsy thing he did and keep Jiraiya dead. But yeah,
right. So that his absence from the series was still felt.
Yeah, even though it shouldn't have been. Anyway, go on.
No, basically what I was going to ask you about is the major catalyst for the themes in the Pain arc is the whole prophecy thing with that frog toad, that toad sage, the old guy.
Uh-huh. The one who trained her at Fukasaku or whatever it is.
Not Gamamaru. It's
the grandpa toad. The little grandpa toad.
Yeah.
What was the prophecy again? I don't even remember. I blocked all this out.
The prophecy the prophecy is like one of the biggest contentions with people online, because it basically states that one of Jiraiya's proteges is going to cause either great change for good or great destruction.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of people have a problem with it because it basically makes Naruto the bona fide chosen one.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. If that's what we're talking about, then yeah, that's pretty crappy too.
You know, a lot of people cite that as the moment Naruto jumped the shark.
Okay.
That or the end of the Pain arc, which, you know, those are probably the most
the Pain
popular
arc.
too.
Somewhere in the Pain arc is where it all goes.
It's kind of funny because most people agree the meat of the Pain arc is actually really good.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's for that very reason that I cannot say that the start of the Akatsuki and before the Pain arc is where you jump the shark, because I feel like the series really shoots uphill until you get to the dead end of it. Or until you get to the dead end of the Pain arc, because I feel like the Pain arc is so good. I really like that arc. But
yeah. I mean, my problem with the prophecy is just that it's so vague. It's like, yeah, obviously something extreme is going to happen in this current climate.
He's going to do something good or he's going to do something bad. I don't know which one, but...
I mean, it's like if you set up a fight between Naruto and Pain, obviously one of them's going to win, and because one of them wins, shit happens.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it doesn't guarantee Naruto would win the war without that, but... You know, then they have another prophecy after that with the... You're going to go meet an octopus bullshit.
Prophecies, they matter.
Part of me just thinks he's senile and everyone takes him too seriously.
They don't really imply that though, do they?
No, that's my headcanon.
Okay. Because I was going to say, it's implied that he's being dead serious and everyone is taking this seriously.
No, it's implied he's absolutely correct.
And I mean, he does end up being correct, but it's...
Yeah, they say he's 100% accurate.
Yeah, but...
Even though his prophecies have, like, either-or clauses in them.
Even though they're as believable as modern fortune tellers. Oh, you are going... Something big is going to happen to you today. Oh, my God! It was true! If you keep it vague enough... You'll always be right. Credibility 100%. And I mean, again, even at that point, I mean, the core cast I don't think was aware, but I would assume the frogs were aware of Nagato. He ends up being an Uzumaki, right?
Nagato?
Nagato
yeah.
Uzumaki.
Yes,
okay.
He is.
Okay. Does that ever actually make it? I know this is so off topic, but it randomly popped into my head. Does that ever actually make a difference? Do we actually ever care?
I mean, it gives him the healing factor, and that's where the special chains come from that allow him to bind the Jinchuriki.
Okay. That makes more sense.
So I mean, it plays an important role in terms of what he can do.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It's also a reason why he's like, important because you got to have Senju DNA or Uchiha DNA to be a main player in the later game.
True.
It's kind of like being a Saiyan in DBZ, except you get to pick your flavor.
Which one do you want? And then you have characters like Danzo who just pick it later, late game change.
Yep. And if you're lucky, you can just fuse the DNA somehow and just become absurdly broken.
And that's where I feel like my next one, and I know these other two that I'm gonna mention aren't obviously. I don't consider them the jumping the shark point, but I feel like they were such low points in the series that they just make me cringe and hurt. And again, I don't have a whole lot to say on this one, but playing off of what you said, I really, really, really hated the Danzo versus Sasuke fight. Because to me, I feel like it. I feel like Danzo himself deserves his own video.
Yeah, I was gonna say Donzo is like literally nothing but good potential.
And he just gets crapped on.
Yeah, I Donzo is literally my favorite villain in Naruto, purely for the implications.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like, I guess, short-sighted or whatever. If you were to actually hard press me, who's the actually best written villain in Naruto, I'd probably have to fold on someone like maybe Orochimaru
Yeah.
or maybe Pain.
Yeah. But just
Maybe Zabuza. I really
I was
do like.
thinking that
I don't
too.
know
I
if
was
want to
thinking
put him that high.
Zabuza.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to put him that high since he's such a minor antagonist from the major series perspective.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah.
yeah, Danzo
But
as
but
far as
Donzo,
potential.
yeah, I think we should do a separate video on Donzo.
Okay. But yeah, I feel like that fight between Danzo and Sasuke, not only is it extremely disappointing, but I feel like we got a lot, like everything that could have been spaced out really nicely throughout the rest of the series with Danzo was just all thrown into that one fight. It just felt like he just kind of wanted to throw Danzo away, but he had cool stuff written for him. So it's like, all right, we get it all now.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, all right, just to get rid of him. Yeah, bye.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. Um
But yeah, I guess not to dig too deep into the Donzo aspect there. Is there I have one last one that I'm probably going to talk a lot about, but do you have any other things that you've wanted to say?
well, I'm willing to talk more about the Tenchi Bridge arc and the Hidan Kakazu arc, which is where I think the series
Okay.
is at its absolute worst.
Okay.
But I think we should veer back to that later.
Okay.
Let's complete out the war arc and then work our way back to where I felt Naruto's at its literal lowest.
Okay.
And just talk about the points in the war arc that other people feel like Naruto jumped the shark and could never salvage itself as a series. One of the,
Okay.
I guess, thematically jumping the shark moments
Okay.
would
That's fine.
be the emergence of is it Hagoromo, the the son of the final villain whose name's escaping me.
Kaguya.
Kaguya, yeah. The Sage of Six Paths basically
Yep.
gives Naruto and Sasuke their Sun and Moon upgrades because they're the reincarnations of the past sons of the Sage of Six Paths.
Right.
And a lot of people hate that moment just because it literally, absolutely no questions asked, creates Messiah figures out
yeah.
of Naruto and Sasuke.
Well, one of my favorite parts that goes right off of that, and it's because of the irony of it, is literally, and I think we've discussed, I know we've talked about this one multiple times, but it's the point where the only character of the original cast that dies is Neji. And
Yeah.
it's so painfully ironic because Neji was the character in the Chunin exam that originally put forward the concept that everything is based upon destiny and that no one chooses anything. People are chosen from birth to be great or not be great. And Naruto has to beat it out of him that no, that's not the way it works. People make their own destiny. And then we fast forward to the end of the series, and the character, and literally the character who he was fighting, who said there's no such thing as destiny, is now riding the destiny wave. And then,
I mean, not only that, but Neji dies in saving a main branch family member, Hinata, which is what he thought his destiny was.
So he literally died by destiny. I just think it's so painfully ironic. I don't really think it really factors into this jumping the shark point, but I feel like it really cements the fact that theme died. Like that was a pre-time skip theme, and we just pushed that under the rug and pretend like it didn't happen.
I don't know how aware you may or may not be of this, but
probably not.
Neji's philosophy versus the, I guess, actual ending of Naruto has become a huge topic of debate within the Naruto community ever since it ended.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I don't doubt that in the slightest. I wasn't terribly aware of it, but I don't doubt it.
Oh yeah. There's entire videos like attacking that very issue. Some pretty good ones too.
I think that would be a fun topic.
It would be a fun topic to explore more. I'm gonna say this: Naruto as a series never really gives you straightforward yes or no answers to its own themes. Like a lot of people talk about how it's all about hard work, overcoming destiny and natural talent, but they seem to forget that Rock Lee lost his fight against Gaara.
It's true. He lost his fight against Gaara, and then later on when he had an opportunity to fight Kimimaro, he had to get saved by Gaara.
Yeah.
And they technically both won via cancer.
Yeah. The series, I don't think Naruto is as inconsistent thematically as people say it is. I think Kishimoto makes his statements so opaque that it actually becomes really difficult to parse out the true meaning until he starts kind of just spelling it out for you in the war arc.
Yeah.
About this whole cycle of pain stuff. And that's what I think your enjoyment of Naruto really hinges on, is how down are you for Kishimoto's philosophy and how well do your views align with it.
Mm-hmm. Not amazing.
And that's another reason I felt that Naruto kind of jumps the shark strongly during the beginning of Shippuden, just because that's when he sets his course for all the things that are going to come into play. And it seems like he's made his decision and he has to kind of stick with it.
Yeah. I could see that. Following up on that, so my absolute, I know you said that you feel like the lowest point was Kakuzu and Hidan. In my opinion, at least as far as the lore and power structure of the series is established, I feel like the point in the series where it all crumbles and we pretty much say screw it in favor of making Sasuke look cool is the fight between Sasuke and Deidara.
Oh shit, I know what's coming.
Oh my god. This I can never not bring this up because it is so much pain to me. And again, it's because I really got kind of invested in the power system of Naruto, especially like the Kekkei system. So where there's like almost a rock, paper, scissors kind of style for the different elements. So freaking, what is it? Lightning beats earth. Earth beats fire. Fire beats wind. Wind beats lightning. So you get that circle there, that power circle. And the exception to that you get are Kekkei Genkai, which is a ninja who is able to use two elements and combine them to create a new one. So
or has higher access to dark and light stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So again, the example as far as this comparison goes is Datara, who has explosion style, which the only murky part of my argument right now is the fact that it is never expressly stated what explosion style is a Kekkei Genkai of. We know it is earth mixed with something. And the thing is that of all the combinations, we know, well, earth and water is mud. Earth and fire is lava. So the only logical thing that is left is earth and lightning. So assuming that explosion style is earth and lightning, is the earth and lightning Kekkei Genkai. You then fast forward to the fight between Sasuke and Datara. And one of the things that happens in the fight is that Datara litters the entire battlefield with landmines made from his clay and his explosion. And there's a point in it where Sasuke is falling towards the ground, and it's at least understood by Datara he's going to fall on a mine and die. And that's just what's implied. And so the way that he gets around that is that he charges his blade with lightning style and pierces one of the landmines. And when he lands on the mine, it does not blow up. And what is explained about that is the fact that lightning beats rock. So
yeah, so it just makes them inert.
So it just completely gets rid of all of the power of his earth style. That right there by itself, just looking at it from that point of view, just assuming that it's as easy as lightning versus earth, that's never established anywhere else in the series, is it? There's never a time where it's like, yeah, it just completely cancels out the style that it beats. I mean, for example, I think a good example is when you have Naruto versus Sasuke, when they hit Chidori versus Rasengan. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you have something to say?
Well, I was just going to say that's the issue when you even have a wheel like that. Like, yeah, that works in Pokemon. But, there's times where fire would beat earth out because fire scorches the earth. But there's other times where the earth would outlast fire. Right. It isn't really a hard rock, paper, scissors. It's all circumstantial. And using our real world knowledge, we know that bombs have a kind of trigger that would go off. Like, you would think both lightning and fire would set off Datara's explosions.
Right.
Just using your human earth logic.
Right. And so...
But because there's this stupid wheel, there's an excuse for why, oh no, it can just make them inert.
Yeah.
It makes sense that the logic established. It just doesn't connect with the kind of knowledge or the kind of logic most people would have.
Right. Well, the thing is that it doesn't come up. It only comes up when it's convenient. The only time I feel like that wheel is concretely explained is when Naruto is getting trained by Asuma. And the reason for that choice is because Asuma also uses wind style jutsu, which is what Naruto uses, because they have, I think it's him and Kakashi. I think maybe it's him and Yamato. I can't remember at what point it was. But they have a back and forth, and Kakashi says, well, you're at a natural disadvantage to Sasuke because your wind style is beaten by his fire style. But on the flip of that, your wind style is strong against his lightning style. So you need to be trained by another wind style user so that you learn how to overcome your weaknesses. And so with that established, we then have the later fight between Naruto and Sasuke, where you literally have Chidori hit Rasengan. And with that established information, Rasengan should win. But it doesn't.
I think Rasengan is actually just pure chakra. Now, I would think it would be a wind attack too, and I understand that. I think in the lore, it is considered just a pure chakra attack.
Uh-huh.
And therefore it should be able to meld with anything else.
I know going later in the story, it's confirmed that that's how it works, because then we get things like Rasen Shuriken.
I mean, it gets a little more complicated, especially when you realize what Rasengan is actually inspired by. It's inspired from a character from an anime called Ninku.
Mm-hmm.
Where a character has basically a ball palm attack like that, but it is just a concentrated orb of wind energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's clearly what the Rasengan... I mean, Kishimoto said as much. That's what the Rasengan is inspired from.
Yeah.
So, there's a reason it would seem logical to think it's wind.
Right.
Especially when the character it extends from is primarily a wind type.
Right. So, anyway... With that, going back to the actual point that I'm really fired up about, is it's not only the fact that, okay, it's never been established previously that one element will completely negate another element, but you throw in with that the fact that Datara's is a Kekkei Genkai. So it's to be assumed that it is probably Earth and Lightning style. So then you have the issue of lightning style negating lightning style. And it, to me, I feel like that was a point. And the problem was that he had to go into, like, just in that moment, Sasuke had to go into so much explanation about it. And it was not good. I did not like it. I feel like if he was going to do something like that, he could have done something better. I don't care. Have him scorch the ground with fire style and blow up all the mines.
I can already tell you what he could have done that would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually use Sasuke's teammates that he spent that arc getting.
Who cares about them? They don't matter.
This is literally, from what I understand, this is a literal conversation that happened. I mean, obviously I'm paraphrasing. Between Kishimoto and his editor at the time.
Uh-huh.
Kishimoto literally didn't want Sasuke's team members that he was going to go take out of Orochimaru's base to really do anything.
Yeah, that comes through pretty strong.
It took the editor kind of going, well, what's the point in having these chapters where he gets these guys if they're not going to contribute, to make room in the story for them to kind of do some things. The easiest solution to that Datara problem is that since Sasuke went to the effort to go get teammates that can help him fight the Akatsuki, and it's not like Datara is the one he's specially training for to go kill.
Right.
So it wouldn't really hurt his pride like it might if he didn't fight Itachi by himself.
Right. But it shouldn't matter.
Shigetsu has water.
Yeah.
Water could make the bombs inert. And I don't think anybody would complain if the bombs became inert because they were wet. One, they're clay. So when clay gets wet, it starts,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not necessarily cooked hard clay, but you could buy it. You'd be willing to buy it more. And then on top of that, if it's like gunpowder, when gunpowder gets wet, it's working.
Yeah, but water doesn't beat those styles. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Oh yeah, I guess it's screwed then. Yeah.
But no, I 100% agreed. It was that moment. And again, I mean, I know I have a little bit of bias because I really like Datara as a character. I like that of all the Akatsuki, he was the one who felt like he was the survivor because he just would not die. Like, he fought so many main cast characters and for the most part beat them too. And it was just like, to have him go out like a bitch like that, really, and then you factor in the way that he actually loses, which is the Tsukuyomi. Sasuke uses the Tsukuyomi on him, and so Deidara uses his final blast to destroy everything in the range, and it's like, oh nope, Tsukuyomi. Sasuke wasn't there at all.
Yeah, he just kind of did that thing from Futurama where Nibbler's like, okay, everyone out of the universe.
So, I mean, again, I know I had a special attachment to that character, so I was extra salty that he died, but I felt like, and again, it's the same way with Danzo. He died like a bitch. This character that was around for so long and did so much, he literally just turned into fodder for Sasuke. And I think that's my biggest, I mean, I know this isn't the point of the video right now, but I think that's my biggest fault with Sasuke is it feels like all of these cool characters that are established by Kishimoto just become jobbers for Sasuke. It's literally what it is. They show up and it's like, they're so strong, and then Sasuke's like, no, you're not. It's like, oh, and you beat Gaara. Oh, you beat Kakashi and Naruto fighting to get. No, I'm Sasuke. I'm Sasuke, bitch. So that's my rant.
Okay.
But so is there anything further from that point on that you'd like to talk about, or would you like to start backtracking?
I think we can afford backtracking. I don't know if there's anything else in the war arc I would say is horrid, or at least that I would say caused it to jump the shark. There are problems with the war arc, but I think that's another video. So, backtracking, I think the Tenchi Bridge arc is the worst arc in Naruto, but I feel like the biggest wasted opportunity arc is the Hidan Kakuzu arc.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one that made me go, oh shit, Naruto can never salvage itself at this rate.
and
then the Pain arc proved me wrong a little bit, thankfully, but and I guess the Itachi Pursuit arc too.
Yeah. So when you say the Hidan and Kakuzu arc, you're referring to when they like killed Asuma and then Shikamaru had to hunt them down and he had to cheese them to death.
Yeah.
Because Hidan can't die.
Yeah.
I forget. I know when all the Akatsuki get brought back by Kabuto, does Hidan get brought back too?
I think so.
Which doesn't make sense because he didn't die. Like it was even.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Kakuzu comes back.
I know he does, but he dies.
I don't. No, I don't think Hidan comes back.
Okay. Because I was going to say
wrong about that. I literally don't remember.
I don't remember either. I feel like I vaguely remember him being there, but I'm not 100% sure. I just know it was canon in that when he was cheesed to death that he can't die, so they just pretty much stuck him in a hole.
Yeah, he's just buried alive forever.
He's just buried, and they're like, oh, but the animals of this forest will watch you. You'll never get out. What?
Yeah.
Anyway, go on to talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, the Tenchi Bridge arc just flat out fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm. I just remembered the cheesiest part of that, which was Yamato impersonating Sasori. If you recall that part.
I actually don't.
Well, when because what they were doing, because they were meeting. Wait, I'm thinking of the right spot, right? When they went up to meet with Kabuto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they went up to meet with whoever it was they were going to find at the bridge, and it happened to be Kabuto. Okay. They just knew they had a leak.
Yeah, and so I remember. I know this is specific to the anime, but what they had Yamato use his wood style to make himself look like Sasori.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I remember that.
And then there's a very short scene where he's like, He's like, all right, Sakura, you fought sorcery, so tell me when my voice sounds like his. And he starts like going through singing scales, just making. He goes, ah, 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 ah. That one.
Yeah. He just suddenly enters the villain tenor.
Exactly. Yeah, so off to a good start there, but go on.
Well, yeah, okay. First of all, the arc introduces two new characters, Yamato and Sai. Neither of them really go on to do anything significant. The only good thing about Sai is that he kind of indicates some of the rather horrific implications of the Anbu Black Ops.
Mm-hmm.
What with the tongue tattoo.
Yeah.
And it really created a lot of good hype for Danzo as a villain. Too bad that got squandered.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem I have with that arc is it's literally an excuse to go see Sasuke's new wardrobe.
And my, is it pretty.
Yeah, like I don't know if you've seen the first episode of the anime, but when they go out of that cave and there's that big pit,
Mm-hmm.
and Sasuke's just looking down at them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the moment that everything culminated in for it, right? Because the story had only gone like one arc without Sasuke, the really popular character, before fans were already clamoring to find out what's going on with Sasuke.
Uh-huh.
So Kishimoto had to do an arc where we get to see what's going on with Sasuke. He's with Orochimaru exactly like we thought he was. The biggest problem with that arc is literally nothing significant. Well, some significant stuff happens, but it's just like 3 whole volumes of much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
They fight Orochimaru on a bridge, and Orochimaru is just critically injured, which is kind of how he was when we left him in the Sasuke retrieval arc.
Yeah, basically.
So you could skip the Tenchi Bridge arc, and Orochimaru's condition hasn't changed at all.
Yeah. It doesn't forward anything really, other than
It's like Orochimaru's better for that arc, only for Naruto to just rip his asshole open.
Yep. And the flip of that is, again, the only, and it's not even important, but I guess the only real thing we get from that arc is we get to see what happens when Naruto loses control. Now we get to see the 9-tail cloak, the what was it, like 5 tails at that point or something, 4 or 5 tails, something.
Yeah, we find out that Naruto injured Jiraiya because he lost control.
Yeah,
and that,
yeah, okay, I forgot about that. Yeah, so we get a little bit, we get some more Jinchuriki backstory.
Yeah, riveting.
And that's about it. And then he and Orochimaru fight, and Orochimaru ends up winning anyway.
Yeah, but not without getting seriously injured.
Oh, but he got hurt. Too bad. He's a snake man, so he just walks it off. Yeah, I agree. It's a very nothing arc. It doesn't do.
I mean, it ends with them going, "Oh, Sasuke's there now," and they don't even come to accept that. They're like, "Well, we're gonna go after him again sometime."
Sasuke is the most important character in Naruto.
It's at least 3 volumes. I think it might even be. It might even occupy like four volumes. Partially at least.
Uh-huh.
I know it's like, okay, yeah, it's not that long, but that's a significant amount of chapters that could have been dedicated to literally anything else would have been better.
I agree.
And then the Hidan Kakazu arc. Well, what happened is Kishimoto had too many Akatsuki. He's like, I got to have 10 of them. Because 10's an important sounding number. 10 makes them feel big and like overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I don't really need 10.
Which ones do I
Let's kill off 2 more of them.
Which ones do I like the least?
Yeah.
Those two. Yeah,
Um,
those two with the gimmick of never dying. Let's kill them.
and my other big problem is it's an entire arc dedicated to a secondary character. I don't care how much you like Shikamaru. I like Shikamaru. I like him more pre-time skip,
Yeah.
but the whole conceit of dedicating an entire story arc towards the development of a secondary character solely. It would be great if Shikamaru had that kind of development in a larger, more intriguing arc. Like if, I don't know, Hidan and Kakazu were on the borders between the Leaf Village the Fire Country and some other country. So then we had introduction to some other ninja
Mm-hmm.
that would play a role in the war arc,
Mm-hmm.
or if we got to learn more about the politics of another nation, you know,
No.
something a little more intriguing on top of Hidan and Kakazu's presence. But really, it's they go attack some out of nowhere temple we've never heard of that doesn't really matter.
But it's important to
They go
Asuma.
steal some money there. Asuma gets killed, a character who had one fight with another set of Akatsuki, and he's just kind of their sensei. Like, those are good beats for a larger arc. They should not be an entire story.
Yeah.
It's just too minimal. It's just not quite enough. And considering one of the biggest problems is that they don't travel around, like, I'll admit, I think that the Land of Waves arc probably sets the wrong tone for the series because it almost feels like it's part of a whole other story that leads you to believe they're going to be doing these missions and stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I understand why the editors told him not to do that. It's because they did a bunch of mission arcs in the anime that were filler, and those didn't receive as well. But those weren't bad because the plots hinged on a mission. Those were bad because they were filler.
Yep. Exactly. And again, as far as
And then they just go fight them in some dead forest that's like really barren, and it's not an interesting location. There's nothing intriguing going on around. Hidan and Kakazu aren't causing any intriguing problems
do you
within the setting.
do you even
They're just stealing money from some monks.
do you even remember how they end up crossing paths again? I don't even remember how that happens.
I don't either.
Like, did they track them down, or were they just like chilling on the outskirts of the country? And it's like, oh no, they weren't. They were in the middle of the country. They were like outside the Leaf Village because they end up in like the Nara forest,
Yeah.
which was also kind of derpy. I don't know, the whole fight. I mean, literally, okay. The only thing that came from that entire arc, and again, it was a Naruto upgrade, was that we got our first look at the Rasen Shuriken.
Yeah. Naruto one shots the major villain for a story he wasn't really even a part of. And I'm not even mad because Naruto wasn't part of the arc. If you ask me, the Frieza arc in Dragon Ball would have been better if Goku didn't show up.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't Goku's story. It was about Gohan and Krillin running around with Vegeta for most of it.
Yeah. And I agree. It would have even been more. I think it would have been more fulfilling if it had been more of a Vegeta arc, honestly.
Yeah. And this story arc could have been around other members of the secondary cast. You could have had the Shikamaru's team could have been with Hinata's team, and it just needed to have more intrigue. It's not intriguing enough. At least the Pain arc has intrigue and thematic depth. And yeah, I know the Hidan Kakazu thing attempts for some thematic depth with the whole who's the real king on this shogi board. Does it symbolically represent the Hokage? No, it represents the people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a pretty arc. I agree. But is it?
And I just remember reading that going, really? This is the same author who created an arc like the Chunin exams, which had all these layers of intrigue, all of these villains simultaneously causing problems in the background, and
Mm-hmm.
then that come to light later. Like think about the degree of complexity involved in the tuning exams in terms of a plot structure,
Mm-hmm.
and then just compare that to the Tenchi Bridge and the Hidan Kagazu arc. And yeah, I know they're smaller. That's my point. You could have sacrificed those two arcs and had one bigger one that was like their combined length, or maybe even a little longer. Because let's face it, the war arc's a little too long and could afford to be trimmed a little bit.
Mm.
Um, that was good and interesting. You could even kill five Akatsuki in that arc if it was, you know, if they were in different locations and there was enough intrigue going on. I think people would have accepted it. And then you could have, they could have overwhelming victory over the Akatsuki in that arc. And then Pain's counterattack would come off even more. Uh, well, I guess it would be about the same because it was like they were beating the Akatsuki over and over again, and then Pain to flip the script on him, like you said.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think it would hurt that though. I think it'd be even more palpable.
Yeah.
Just because you enjoyed that process of better.
Yeah. Yeah, those were just bad arcs. And again, like you said, they could have literally done any other thing with that space that he used for what literally kind of felt like filler in itself. I think that would be an oddly interesting video is canon filler. Because I feel like that happens a lot, especially in these really long series. You get your Foxy the Silver Fox arc.
I love that arc.
I'm sorry. I felt like that was the most filler canon arc ever.
Oh no, it absolutely is. Although watch, it'll come back in some meaningful way.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure.
You know what? I'm calling it now. Luffy is going to declare a Davy back fight against Shanks so that he can technically beat his crew without violence.
That. That's perfect. Love it. You just wrote it. That's the best arc of One Piece. So yeah, anything else you have to say about Naruto and shark related issues?
Well, I'm sure we're gonna get comments like, "Nah, man, Hidan Kakazu was the best arc." You know?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna say that.
What do you think they're gonna say?
They're gonna say no. Sasuke was the best character in the series. Every single fight that he won was well deserved and just a great expression of all of his training, which is an argument I've had to overcome in many a forum. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening to that. If you please let us know down in the comments where do you think that Naruto jumped the shark? Is there a different point that we didn't mention, or do you think that some of these points that we mentioned are actually more redeemable than we're giving them credit for? Please leave those down in the comments. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Please subscribe. We put out weekly content. I know we have some bigger things in the works right now, but
yes,
and if
we're working on a video, I'm not going to spoil what it's about, but let's just say it's about pole peeler versus my Cheerio macadamia nuts.
All of your favorite cereal mascots. So if that sounds intriguing, definitely subscribe. Oh, other thing. If you happen to like this Jumping the Shark series, also please let us know down in the comments. If this gets enough positive feedback, this might be a series that we do more regularly. If there's other series that you'd like us to examine, see where they jump the shark, please leave those in the comments below, and that could be a future video. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody, and disgusting sound insert here.
Ow.
going from